We're back out on the bass buggy, and today we're talking about the 4 most important tips I know of for beginning anglers to help you sort through all the noise and start catching fish. Stick around. Now before I go any further, I would really want to give a shout out to my buddy Hank over at Bass Geek, who sent me these cool new shades. These are Waterland Ashors, and I'm trying them out. He sent them to me, and I'm going to give them a try. He says that they're the best glasses he's ever used, and we'll see. Now, I'm not promoting these. I'm not sponsoring these. The only thing I'm doing is saying thanks to Hank for sending these to me. I really appreciate it, buddy. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And for a beginning angler, there sure is a lot of things you have to digest right off of the bat. It can really make your head spin, make you extremely confused with all the information that you can be bombarded with, just to go out and be able to catch a fish. Well, today, we're going to sort through all that noise, we're going to clear away all the clutter, and we're going to narrow it down to 4 simple things. And these 4 simple things aren't just for beginners. They're things that even experienced anglers could learn to focus on. These are things that are just very basic, and like I said, they will cut through the noise, cut through the clutter, and allow you to focus on the fishing. In my experience, for a beginning angler, it's a lot like someone's throwing you the keys to a car you've never driven before on a 5-lane expressway, choked with traffic, to a destination you've never been before, and no GPS to help you get there. Although everybody and their brother has the directions they're trying to give you. But in the end, you've got to sort it out yourself. So what we want to do is we want to remove lane by lane, car by car, until it's just you on a one-way street headed to your destination. Simple enough? Well, let's get started. Now, for those few of you who saw, I actually did a video on me trying to teach my 77-year-old uncle how to bass fish. It's not something he'd ever tried before, and it's not something he had any experience with. In his words, he ain't never caught no fish on a fake worm. So, and while I posted that video, I actually expected it to be pretty huge, but it turned out to be my biggest dud ever on my channel. Go figure, you post a video you think is going to be absolutely huge, and it turns into a dud, and a video you didn't think was going to get any views at all, you look down, you're getting 4,000 hits an hour. YouTube is certainly a fickle mistress. But anyway, for those of you who have been asking about my uncle, I just wanted to share with you a little update. I think you'll like it. Come on now.
What's that?
Huh? Do you have something? Reel in. You've got one. Reel it in. You've got one. Hot dog. Let me turn that trolling motor off. Keep going. Nice and easy.
What's that?
You got a fish. Hot dog. And it jumped too.
Huh?
Come up to the front of the boat with it. Bring it up here. There you go. Now it's going to try to go under, so reel it in. It's going to try to go under the boat. There you go. Ooh, that's a nice one. Bring it to me. There you go. Right in the top of the mouth. Grab it right there on that bottom lip. Look at that. And that is a great fish. That's a gorgeous fish. Check you out. That's about 1.5 pounds. Probably pushing close to 2 pounds. Look at that.
A fish, huh?
A nice fish. My first bass was not that nice. Hang on. This is picture time. Well, you know we got to get a picture. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Told you. Wacky rig. Yep.
Just let it go, right?
Yeah, you just set him down in the water. Tell him goodbye.
Hey, catch you later, fish. I don't think I can touch the water.
Yeah, you can just let him down. There you go.
He's down.
All right.
Fishing's over.
Now, when it comes to these tips, the things I want you to remember is we are going to be focusing on simplicity. We want to focus on just getting you out there and catching the fish. So with that in mind, the first thing you should know is don't worry about your gear. You'll hear all these things about brand new bait casters, brand new spinning rods, all the terminal tackle, all the new baits and lures, and all of these things that go with it. Don't worry about it. As long as you've got a fishing pole and some line to get wet in the water, that's all you need to start. It doesn't matter if it's your granddad's old spinning rod. It doesn't matter if it's just a Zebco 33 you bought at Walmart. It does not matter. First and foremost, all you're really going to need is a rod and reel that you can put a hook on it to get a bait wet. Because as the saying goes, you can't catch any fish until you wet a line. So I know there is all these mountains of information. You look at all these gear reviews online and you see all these tackle junkies. And admittedly, I'm guilty of that myself. I am quite the tackle junkie. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people who like to go out and spend a bunch of money on the latest tackle and the latest gear, I'm not saying that they're bad or wrong in any way. I like to do a lot of that myself. This is not elitist hipster fishing. You fish how you want to fish. You fish what makes you comfortable and what makes you happy. But for the sake of argument, for a beginning angler, we're going to cut the noise out and we're going to say, start with something simple. Start with what you have. It doesn't matter what kind of line it has on it. Those things will come later. So, rule number one, keep your gear simple. Focus on what you have. Right now, we're just trying to get a line in the water and get you a feel for it. Now, the second rule we want to talk about is along the same lines. It's having to do with simplicity, and that is, don't worry about all these techniques you hear about. Ned rigs, drop shots, Texas rigs, top water, crankbaits. Don't worry about any of that. Right now, pick one way that you think you want to fish. I strongly recommend something simple like a Texas rig or a wacky rig. Those are great choices for beginners to learn. You get a feel for it and you understand what angling is about. You have to learn how to learn, and that's what we're trying to teach you here. We're not trying to show you 10,000 things to digest and get you confused. Right now we're stripping everything back to the bare bones. So don't worry about anything but one technique. Focus on that technique and only that technique. You're not going to catch fish the first time most likely, or the second time, maybe not even the 20th time, but eventually it's going to happen. So stick with that technique. You'll learn it inside and out. You'll learn what an actual bite feels like and what a clump of grass or something else feels like. And you'll be able to know when to set the hook. So don't focus on all these crazy techniques you're hearing about just because you're not catching fish. The reason you're not catching fish is not because of the technique. It is because of inexperience. Get some experience with the technique under your belt. Focus on one thing. Again, I suggest a Texas rig or a wacky rig. Those are both great presentations for a beginner to start with. They're simple, and all you have to carry with you is a pack of yum dingers to the lake, and you're good to go. You don't have to have, again, like we said in the previous one, you don't have to have a whole bunch of gear. So step one and step two very much tie together. Don't worry about the gear and focus on one technique. And that will surely be enough to get you going. Now, the third thing we want to focus on is once you get out to the water, you've got your setup, you know what technique you're going to work with, cover water. Don't stay in the same spot, fishing it over and over and over. Make a few casts, move on. Whether you have a boat or whether you're fishing from the bank, this is the absolute best strategy to putting yourself on fish. Don't worry about trying to find all these things known as high percentage areas and where the bass are hiding. Don't worry about any of that. Make a few casts and move on. Make a few more casts and move on. Cover water. When you start finding bass, you'll notice what types of areas you're catching them in, and you'll be able to start putting all these things together. Oh, I caught that bass off of a stump. Oh, that bass was hiding in shade under a brush. You'll be able to put those things together. But right now, just walk and cast. Pay attention to where you're casting. Pay attention to what's going on, but just walk and cast. So don't worry about gear. Don't worry about a whole bunch of techniques, and cover water. Walk and cast. Walk and cast. Or if you're on the boat, make sure you can go with the current, or you've got a trolling motor, or just whatever. Just drift along. Make sure that you are covering water and you're able to make casts to various areas over and over. Look for targets that you think are good. Look for targets that you think are juicy and tasty for a bass, and try casting in there. With experience, you'll figure it out. It's better if you do it yourself. As humans, our greatest trait is to learn by doing. The more we do, the better we learn. We can have people tell us things, but it doesn't really click until we apply it and use it as a practical application as we're going out there and we're making casts and covering water and putting everything together. So that's tip number 3. Now the 4th tip may be the most important one of all. That is, have patience. Don't give up. You may not catch fish on the first time. In fact, you probably won't catch fish on the first time. You probably won't catch fish on the second or third time. But eventually, you'll catch one. And that light bulb will go off. That aha moment will happen. And you will put it all together. And you'll be able to repeat it over and over again. And you'll be able to make those connections. And you'll be able to see what experienced anglers are seeing and understand what they talk about, the things that they say. You'll be able to understand the nuances about it and put things together and complete the puzzle and start putting yourself on fish consistently. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's definitely going to take some patience, but don't give up. You can do it. You can go out there and you can catch fish, but you have to tune out all the noise and you have to just focus on it. So there you have it. 4 tips to simplify beginning anglers, and even advanced anglers can learn from this. These are the things as any angler we need to do to strip away the layers and reduce everything down to its core and just go fishing. Cancel out all the noise, all the clutter, and focus on fishing. And once you start to do that, and you're able to do that consistently and narrow everything down to a fine point, you'll be able to start landing on fish over and over again. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.